Let's face it, in the video game world, sometimes we're just really harsh on some games. Sometimes too harsh. Maybe it's wrong place, wrong time, but whether it's critics or fans, occasionally we get a little carried away with what games we really dislike. So today we're having a conversation about 10 games that the gaming world was a bit too harsh on. Look, this is all pretty subjective. Some of you guys are still gonna despise these games or love them even more. Either way, this list could be endless. It was hard to make it just 10. Let us know your picks in the comments so we can make a part 2, but for now, let's get started off with number 10. Batman Arkham Origins. This one, honestly, now most people really like, and I think it's because people will just take what they can get, right? We all want more Batman Arkham style games. Hell, Arkham Shadow from last year was incredible, and that was just a VR game, but still, there is still a lot of hunger out there for a Batman style game. So looking back, Arkham Origins, pretty awesome. Not so bad, right? But when this game released, all the way back in 2013, leading up to it, people were a little mixed because it felt different. It didn't feel quite like an Arkham game. On the one hand, it's a prequel, but also stylistically, it just felt different. Batman looked different. It wasn't Kevin Conroy voicing him. It was actually Roger Craig Smith, who did a great job in hindsight, but still, different looking Batman, different sounding Batman, different looking Batman villains, a different style of Gotham, and a different developer. Rocksteady wasn't making this one. It was actually WB Games Montreal, and that led to a lot of people feeling like this one was a bit more of a cash grab or just not quite as good. There was a lot of skepticism with this one. When it released, it didn't get the worst reviews or anything, but I'd say now, in hindsight, looking back, have you played this game recently? Because it's actually pretty damn good. Yes, it doesn't quite have the zest, the magic of a Rocksteady Games Arkham game, but other than that, it's still just a solid, damn good Batman game. It takes place around Christmas time, in the snow, Gotham City is shut down. It's the first time you're kind of really free roaming around as Batman in what is essentially Gotham City, not just Arkham City, but a whole city, and it's cool as hell. There were some twists and turns in the story that kind of sucked, if I'm honest, but more Batman Arkham gameplay is always good. And if for some reason you were caught up in that hype back in the day, you know, the anti-Arkham Origins thing because it wasn't a Rocksteady game, I got a little carried away with it myself, but you owe it to yourself to go back and play this one, because it's pretty damn solid.
To show me where the penguin is.
Next at number 9, 2022's High on Life. This is a sci-fi first-person shooter from Squanch Games, the people behind things like Rick and Morty. So, you know, with this, the conversation really comes down to humor. Humor is incredibly subjective, right? You're either going to love a style of humor or not. And sometimes with certain humor, if you don't like it, it can be really, really grating. And with High on Life, it seems like the critical response was not too hot. A lot of it probably came down to the humor, but either way, the Metacritic score, the critics score for High on Life was 67%, which in all honesty, looking back now, High on Life is a pretty serviceable, fun, little lighthearted sci-fi first-person shooter.
Oh my God, you're killing us? Okay, maybe you're strong enough.
He just got squashed.
That's it for me.
That's it for me.
It kind of feels a little bit like a more old school throwback game. It's not like incredibly ambitious with its gameplay concepts or anything like that, but it really does push the humor, the zaniness. It's got some life to it. It's got talking weapons. And yes, after a while, the mile-a-minute jokes and like awkwardness can get a little annoying, but just going for a stroll online, looking at like user reviews and opinions on social media, it sounds like some people who even went into the game looking like they were gonna hate it, you know, maybe not a fan of Rick and Morty humor, still ended up enjoying it. And either way, I mean, if you look at it now on Steam, High on Life has reached very positive by Steam user reviews. So despite a lot of the consensus at first seeming to be, yeah, it's okay, kind of middling and some annoying humor, it seems like people have really, over time, really jived with it. I mean, for the fact that they're making a sequel, the fact that High on Life 2 is a thing says that enough people really enjoyed it. And speaking of enjoying, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing if you haven't. We've been saying this a lot lately because in terms of the data, it looks like a lot of people watch, but they don't always hit subscribe. So that's why we're asking. Sorry to spam you. Anyway, let's move on.
Ow,
but yeah, look how shootable I look. I look so shootable.
I am not shooting a kid.
Go ahead, do it. Shoot me, fresh meat. Shoot me. See what happens. Oh, don't I look so shootable? Look at me. You can shoot me anywhere. Ah, you shot me. I'm dead.
All right there, are you happy now? Well, I didn't think we'd be allowed to kill him. Normally, killing children in games isn't allowed, but he's dead. We killed this kid. Are you happy now? We killed a kid. A kid is dead now. There goes our E for everybody rating.
Next at number 8, because this is a video that I, Jake, am recording, I had to shoehorn in my personal opinion with The Order 1886. That's right, baby. Too many people hated this game, and I think it was awesome, okay? Look, The Order 1886, let's be completely frank, it's too short. Just as it starts to get good, it ends. If you bought this game for $50, $60, absolutely, totally sucks, total bummer. But now, in the reality of this game being so far away, you can get this game for like nothing. And it's absolutely worth it. A handful of hours of thrilling, entertaining, yeah, simple third-person shooting, but it just feels so unique.
Enemy down.
This world that they built, the way it's presented, is absolutely awesome. A world where the Knights of the Round Table live on for centuries in a cool kind of steampunk world, fighting off werewolves, and eventually, spoiler alert, maybe even vampires. It was absolutely awesome, and just like I said, like at the start, like once it started to get really good and like really got on a good tear, it ended, and that was disappointing. But where it left off made the potential of a sequel pretty exciting. The main character went rogue, so you didn't know what was going to happen next. New monsters were revealed, but the game was not received well at all. I think critics and fans were pretty united in this one being too short and just not engaging enough from a gameplay standpoint. And yes, it is a very simple game, but still, if you go back now, you get it for $10 or something like that, and you play it, I guarantee you'll think it was a pretty good ride. Next at number 7, what is arguably the beginning of the downward trend of public perception of Assassin's Creed for a while, Assassin's Creed Unity. This 2014 game was a victim of a really bad launch. It was one of the first games to go completely viral for being filled with glitches and bugs that are honestly tame by today's standards. The way games launch today in a complete mess are even worse, but still, Assassin's Creed Unity and some of those glitches and bugs were unforgivable. Just really, really bad stuff. But, hear me out, beneath all that, bad launch, but a really, really good game. The bones of Assassin's Creed Unity are absolutely great. In a lot of ways like this, and I'd say Assassin's Creed Syndicate, they were kind of like the last of the traditional style Assassin's Creed games in terms of like how they played. Assassin's Creed Unity had really, really good mission design, good old classic sandbox style assassination missions, solid character customization, and co-op gameplay that was pretty fun. It had good stealth, a great city that was just an incredible recreation of France. And if you don't believe me, just look online. The community has really taken to Assassin's Creed Unity and done incredible things. I don't even care how much Ubisoft fixed, it's the fans that took this game and ran with it. Assassin's Creed Unity, like a lot of us dunked on, myself included, but having gone back and replayed it, we were pretty harsh on it. It's pretty solid. So I would say if you're somebody that's kind of grown cynical of the modern Assassin's Creed games that went in a different direction, maybe you're like me, you're not too into those, go back and try Assassin's Creed Unity. You might need to try it with some mods, but still, check it out. Next at number 6, Ryse, Son of Rome. This essentially was a launch game for Xbox One that served as a graphical showcase. I believe it was built in CryEngine and it was very, very flashy, and because of that, it was quickly written off as like a very surface level game that was really just like a launch game meant to showcase the graphics. But, believe it or not, over time, people have really come around on this one. A lot of critics were pretty mid on it, a lot of players were also pretty mixed on it, but I think it was really the time, because yes, again, it was like a launch game, and there were plenty of other more interesting ones, but now, in 2025, Ryse Son of Rome is one of the only ones that people really talk about. I think when it came out, it was when people were cynical to a lot of things. People didn't want short games. They wanted really long, endless open world games. They also didn't want games that relied on QuickTime events that just felt not interactive enough. Ryse Son of Rome was what a lot of people didn't want at the time. I think it was like a 6-hour campaign that was extremely linear, and it was riddled with QuickTime events. Stuff that gamers had really grown cynical to, and it was a full price game. Most people did not feel like it was worth the asking price, but if you go back now and play it, it's pretty solid, man. And chances are you're not getting it for $60. You're getting it for way less. And having that value to it, it does feel pretty good. Plus, it's gotten new life with a PC version as well, and it's just a good, solid brawler game. You get to play as an awesome Roman dude and murder people with your sword. The combat actually tried some creative things. I think it took some shots. It didn't nail all of them, but it still made for a pretty unique experience, and, you know, even if it is short, we still don't really see any games like this today. And playing it, I think, mostly holds up. Next at number 5, Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed, this one released in 2008. I guess maybe it was still the damage, the massive splash damage of Sonic 06, but a lot of reviewers gave this game like a 5 out of 10. I saw a lot of fans write it off. And I think honestly at the time, I remember for me, I was kind of like meh on it because it just felt like a gimmick. It was like, oh, Sonic, but this time he turns into a werewolf. Cool. Those werewolf sections felt so kind of hackneyed and lame, just kind of like a brawler style thing. But where this game really excels is in the boost gameplay. When you're playing the more like, I guess now, traditional style Sonic levels in this game, when you're just blasting through at high speeds, running and jumping and being Sonic the Hedgehog, this is Sonic gameplay like at its best. And I think over time, with Sonic's missteps and stuff like that, people have really come around to see how special these moments in Sonic Unleashed are, and ultimately it kind of elevates the whole package. Even for some of the game's issues and flaws or stuff that's just not that exciting, the moments that are good are slick, really, really high-octane, fun shit, man. It's awesome. Yeah, when you're running around as a werehog, ugh, I don't know, not for me. Some people still like that part. But look, there's so much around this game. There's so much like lore and interesting stuff in terms of like how people ported it to PC, actually kind of changed the market a little bit in terms of how people emulate Xbox 360 games. It's really interesting if you want to look into it. Either way, I would just say that that's another reason why Sonic Unleashed really is gonna live on, because I mean, there was enough reason for people to go back and kind of crack it to emulate it on PC, but it also made people realize that the game does have some good moments. Is it the best Sonic game? No, absolutely not. But I think we were a little harsh on it. Now at number 4, here's a really divisive one. DMC. I'm not talking Devil May Cry, I'm talking about the reboot, Devil May Cry by Ninja Theory. This takes Devil May Cry, which a lot of people, myself included, really loved, and kind of shits all over it. Okay, look. They tell a new Dante and Virgil story, new kind of world, new interpretation, new vibe, everything. But I think, overall, the game is still really fun. It's not quite Devil May Cry, yes, and in some ways, it tries to go out of its way to like piss on the face of original Devil May Cry, but I think ultimately what Ninja Theory built here is a really, really fun action-adventure game with some biting critique and satire, good boss battles, and some really, really creative levels. It does inject some social commentary and shit like that, but I think it does it in a way that feels pretty smart, now probably dated, sure, but still pretty interesting, pretty compelling, and a cool take. The combat, while simple, definitely more simplified compared to Devil May Cry, still a ton of fun. I will always defend this game, and I say that as someone who played from the beginning. I fell in love with Devil May Cry the moment I saw it on a demo disc back in the day. I feel like I was bred in a lab, like I am the perfect specimen to despise DMC, but I can't deny it is pretty fun. This video is 10 games we were harsh on, but I honestly think people are still pretty harsh on this one. I'm probably gonna get some flack for this one, but I don't care. I stand by my opinions, all right?
Is that supposed to hurt us? This really is pathetic!
Next down at number 3, Metal Gear Solid 2. We're going even further back in time to the very, very early 2000s and talking about one of my favorites. Metal Gear Solid 2 at the time was a highly anticipated release. One of the biggest game releases. Certainly for that time for the PlayStation 2, people were pumped to see Solid Snake's next adventure. And when they got the game, of course, now you know the legendary Raiden/Snake bait and switch. The lead up to this game, the trailers, the magazine ad, like everything really highlighted Snake's new adventure. But when you got the game, you started playing it, you realized you play as Solid Snake for like 2 hours roughly, and then for the rest of the game, you play as this long-haired pretty boy anime guy Raiden. Ugh, right? That's not what a lot of people wanted, and people were pretty pissed. I remember the conversation around this one being pretty spicy. It was the early days, so you would go on forums and see people vent their frustrations, but also, this was a time where you would go to Blockbuster or you would go to a game store and hear other people talking about this Raiden guy and how much he sucks compared to Snake. This was a real thing, and people were pissed. That being said, now in 2025, you barely hear anything about that type of discourse, right? What is the main consensus when Metal Gear Solid 2 comes up now, right? Okay, yeah, Hideo Kojima was ahead of his time. The storytelling was incredible. What a cool game. We love Metal Gear, right? It wasn't so cut and dry back in 2001. It was quite the opposite. However, time has been very kind to this game because ultimately, I think a really good, solid game stands the test of time. It wins out. And Metal Gear Solid 2, whether or not you play as Snake a lot, yeah, it sucks. I would have loved to have played Snake for the entire game. Metal Gear Solid, the original, was my favorite game ever, so in the sequel, I wanted more Snake and I didn't get it. Still, this game was so incredibly weird, strange, unique, and cutting edge and fun to play that ultimately it didn't matter. Now down at number 2, Dark Souls 2. This is like the difficult second album, the black sheep of the series. This is a game that gets a lot of hate online for its many issues that we're not gonna downplay here. But it is a game where I do think the good outweighs the bad. I'm not the only one who thinks that either. Like, there is now a growing defense force out there for this game that appreciates the legitimately good things it brought to the table, like the innovative multiplayer, which for many fans, some consider like the best in the series. Look, I'm not gonna pretend that it doesn't have its fair share of problems. The level design is overall weaker than Dark Souls 1. The combat, and especially the dodging, is clunkier. The graphics can look like ass, man, which ties into the game missing a lot of the promised features before release, like the impressive lighting system that they showed off in pre-release footage. A lot of people are still salty about that. The final game was clunky, awkward, and clearly stitched together in spots, you know, and almost like an attempt to save it. But that's just part of the Dark Souls charm. It's a game with confusing mechanics and needlessly obscure elements, and not all this stuff is good exactly, but man, there is still a lot to like about it. The world is massive, like significantly bigger than, like, you know, the first game. And while it doesn't look that great, like I said, think about it, the variety of locations is impressive. And some of these places, I mean, look at it, they do look pretty good, even at the time. The vibes in the town hub of Majula are like immaculate. The best hub the series has ever had. I don't know if that's a hot take, but yeah. The world and the lore, interesting as ever, especially with the additional bits added with the Scholar of the First Sin expansion, which that's its own can of worms. Look, even Dark Souls 2 fans are divided about that stuff. They either hate the remixed enemy encounters or they don't. Some things about the original game are better, some things are worse. It's not like 100% improvement that you might expect, which makes it difficult to determine which version of the game is best. It's complicated for Dark Souls nerds, but ultimately, it doesn't matter that much. They're not that different from one another to make a significant difference. This is also like the most King's Field of the Souls games. It's less post-apocalyptic compared to the other games in the series, and more fantasy-based and mysterious. The game has a unique atmosphere for the series that's hard to describe, but like if you've played it, then you know. Also, the DLC is fantastic across the board. Dark Souls 2 may not be the best Souls game, but it's definitely one that we still think about and appreciate to this day. Now down at number 1, Watch Dogs. Now, if you've watched Gameranx, you probably know we're Watch Dogs apologists at this point. This game was definitely dunked on at release, I think by both critics and fans, because it didn't live up to expectations. Ubisoft sold us something that just looked incredible. The initial reveal and teases of Watch Dogs made the game look so cool, both conceptually, with a bunch of things that you ultimately wouldn't quite do in the game when it released, and also visually. The game looked like a feast for the eyes, and when it eventually released, it was definitely downgraded. It had some really repetitive missions and a main character that just didn't really have a lot of appeal. He was kind of one note. A lot of people were disappointed with this one, but now, looking back and having replayed it with mods, and just replayed it on its own, they don't make them like this anymore. I know that sounds ridiculous that I keep leaning on that, but seriously, there's something about Watch Dogs, the like kind of gritty nature to it, the very simple but fun, effective third-person shooting and stealth that just made it feel special. It had some good car chases, a fun Chicago, some great shootouts and encounter designs.
Keep out of sight.
Watch Dogs just feels like a game that a lot of gamers and maybe even critics had a bad relationship, right? Like just a rough past. But now, years later, you run into them again and you're like, hey, you're all right. It's good to see you. How are you? There's something about Watch Dogs now where at the time we could dunk on it and criticize a lot of elements. I think we were overly critical, really. Because jumping into it now, it just feels like a cozy, kind of fun, chill, hacking, third-person shooter open world game. Which again, we don't get tons of them now, and sometimes we do, and they're shitty. Some of us thought Watch Dogs was quote-unquote bad, but we'd see way worse a couple years down the line. Does it redeem it and make it the best game ever? No, absolutely not, but that's the point of this video. Just some games that we think we were maybe a little too harsh on. And by that, I just mean the collective we. Still, those are 10 games that we wanted to chat about today, games that we thought people were harsh on, whether it's the community, reviewers, whoever. And like I said at the start of this video, there are so many other games that could fit this list. We'd love to do a part 2, a part 3. I could talk endlessly about this stuff, so let us know in the comments what you think. If you got your own picks, let us know. You're probably going to argue as well. Be nice. But either way, clicking a like button helps us out. If you had fun with this video, you like talking games with us every single day, thanks. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.